After becoming the wife of Leo, the mafia boss, I pretended to be deaf to protect myself. He actually thought I couldn't hear, and spent all day complaining to me. What's up with your face after I kissed you? Like you ate something nasty. You act so grossed out. I'm definitely kissing you next time. You were talking to Larry at the door yesterday. I'm moving him tomorrow. And can you smile at me more? Even the dog looks happier to see me than you. Keep this up, and I'm gonna deal with you. So, I took advantage of his ignorance of sign language, and silently dissed him back. That was until Leo secretly learned sign language, and busted my act. After dinner, Leo, looking moody with a cigarette, blocked my way, removed my hearing aid, and whispered with a chuckle. Think you can fool me? You're in trouble now. I'm really gonna deal with you. I had time traveled to become Anna, the wife of the mob boss, Leo, who wasn't even an original character in the novel. It was all arranged by the system. Since this crazy guy was too busy with work, the main crew couldn't beat him. So the plot was changed to give him a love story, hoping it would help. But when I first arrived, I was trembling in fear. Are you kidding me? A single guy, handsome and rich, who has been alone for 28 years. Either he's got a question mark over his orientation, or some bad habits. I've got the worst luck, but I can't go back right now. The plot started with Leo's adoptive father shoving me to him, and the marriage certificate was already done. Anna, pay attention, Leo's about to show up. Have fun, bye. After the electronic voice disappeared, the villa's door swung open. I looked up and made eye contact with a tall guy at the door. Sharp eyes, a teardrop mole under the corner, making him look a bit indifferent. His whole face was sharp, not a trace of friendliness. Short hair, still seemed like a cultured jerk in a suit. Overall, he didn't leave me with a good first impression. After all, who would like a guy obsessed with revenge and violence? For safety, that idea came back. Maybe I should act deaf. A disabled person is no threat to him. So when the man sat down to speak, I started signing. Deaf? Leo frowned, looking puzzled. I pointed at my ear and shook my head. Then I picked up a pen and paper on the table, writing. My hearing is weak. Don't know where my hearing aid is. So I can't hear you well, Mr. Leo. He glanced, then picked up the pen, scribbling some ugly words. What's your name? Anna. Leo seemed to want to write more, but suddenly stopped, irritably tossing the pen and paper on the sofa, mumbling. Man, my writing is so ugly, can't even look at it. Thinking I was really deaf, he sighed deeply, calling the maid from the kitchen. Kate, take Miss Anna to get another hearing aid at the hospital. Panicked, a trip to the hospital and I'm exposed. With the systems toolkit in my pocket, I pulled out the hearing aid while he wasn't looking, threw it on the tiles, and quietly kicked it under the coffee table. Then I shouted and made a big fuss, urgently tugging at his hand to open his palm. Tracing my finger over his callous lines, I wrote, hearing aid, see it, under the table. Leo, maybe tickled by my touch, got my point, and hurriedly pulled away before I finished. He bent down, picked it up, cleaned it with tissue, fiddled a bit, and attached it to my left ear. Then, a warm breath washed over. I'm Leo, your husband. Can you hear me, Anna? I jerked back like I'd been shocked. He laughed like he'd seen something amusing. Little deaf girl, aren't you a scaredy cat? I lowered my head, signed something. It meant calling him an idiot. What's that mean? I pretended to speak with effort, a series of muffled, strange sounds getting his point. It means Mr. Leo is also a humorist, because in the world of the deaf, there's no self-voice, so they can't fully voice every syllable accurately. Afterwards, the man hesitated for a long time. I couldn't tell if Leo looked at me with scorn. Then again, it's best if he did. I didn't want to be his wife anyway. Just need to get to the end of the novel, then I can go back. But the next moment, he picked up my luggage, heading to the second floor. Wait, where's he taking my stuff? I stay in the guest room downstairs. Panicking, I chased, grabbing his shirt, wildly signing. I'm fine downstairs. Luggage, give it back. Expressionlessly, Leo said, I know it's yours. I'll put it in my room. No need to thank me. Who wants to thank you? And who said we're sharing a room? Mind blank. I tugged the luggage back with all I had. Leo stared, surprised, his usual stern face getting even harsher. What's it mean? You don't want a room with me, huh? Disgusted. Fine, whatever. Touching the hearing aid, cold sweat trickled, making me shiver. Whoa, Leo's the big bad in this book. The protagonist, with all his plot protection, got beat into a hospital once. What's my deal challenging him? Who knows? He might call someone to drag me out for a beating next. Understanding that, I awkwardly handed the luggage back. Word by word, matching signs, slowly spoke. Not disgusted, just a bit scared. Scared of what? Do I look terrifying? After hanging my dresses in the closet, Leo went to the bathroom, washing his hands, glancing at my cautious self in the mirror. Since I'd removed my hearing aid, I acted like I didn't hear him. Seeing me, he grinned dumbly. Silly, such a coward. He's mocking me again. What, Mr. Leo? I asked, gesturing. Why speak so offensively? Leo's eyes softened more, pointing to the bed, distracting me. I said, tonight, we both sleep here. His words left my head buzzing, a blush climbing my cheeks. Seriously, sharing the bed? Shouldn't he be plotting against the book's main characters now? Given a wife by the system, he's actually okay with it. Outside, oppressive clouds loomed, thunder rumbling, a storm brewing. My heart sank with Leo's actions, unbuttoning his shirt. Suddenly, Leo pulled out a mat from the corner and laid it on the marble floor. His message on my phone read, "The apartment maintenance just notified us there'd be a power outage tonight. It's dark and stormy, and I didn't want you to be scared since you just moved here. I wouldn't know how to explain it to your foster dad. This must be another system glitch." Just after 9, the whole place went dark. Leo was already lying on the mat. The room was silent, but the thunder outside grew louder. Honestly, worrying about me being afraid of the dark or thunder was unnecessary. In this kind of setting, I actually sleep better. The guy lying under the bed made no noise. I was parched and reached for my phone to grab some water downstairs, but as soon as I stepped out, someone grabbed my ankle. "Don't go." Leo's voice was nothing like during the day. Then came another loud bang from outside. I felt his hands tightly around my waist. In the darkness, I met Leo's trembling eyes and couldn't help but laugh. So even a mafia boss gets scared on a stormy blackout night, huh? The next morning, Leo was gone, but I vividly recalled how he stuck closer than glue to me last night. Now, I'm definitely not scared of him anymore. Honestly, he's more of a scaredy-cat than I am. Heading downstairs, I bumped into the butler, who had a homeless dog with him. This is Mickey, the dog Leo found 2 years ago on the street," he said, wanting to make sure I heard. So he wrote it down on a piece of paper. I tried to pet Mickey, and he leaned into it, just like his owner. "I can hear you fine with this on. No need for the notes." "Want me to walk him?" I said to the butler. Mickey limped a bit on his back leg, but was still really lively. We had barely walked a few steps when he started barking like mad. A pair of shiny leather shoes appeared in my line of sight. "Oh, so you're Leo's new bride." Such a big occasion, but no invite for the guys. Really over the line, came an annoying voice. It was a blonde named Ben. Guess my storyline didn't have these plots. Leo really knew how to rack up enemies. When one of them tried approaching me, Mickey bared his teeth, ready to jump. "Anna, we're just here for some drinks. We can take you nicely or just force it," Ben said, while fiddling with a butterfly knife and pouring himself a beer. "If the new bride's off limits, guess we'll keep Anna company until Leo agrees to our terms. Seems like now's a good time to drop the playing deaf act. Plain drinking is boring. How about a drinking game? Loser drinks," I offered with a smile, trying to keep things light. "Deal." I never lose anyway. By the 3rd round, 4 men were down. Ben's eyes started getting fuzzy, and I used the chance to excuse myself. He was a tad smarter than the rest, though, and grabbed my hand, suspecting I might bolt. Mickey, tied to a chair, bolted straight over, dragging it along. In the chaos, the butterfly knife in the guy's hand flew out, grazing my hand and leaving a cut. Furious, he grabbed Mick's scruff and kicked him. I snatched up an empty beer bottle, warning him not to come closer. "You're gonna regret it if you act stupid drunk." Because just then, through the window, I saw the man with a stick and a fierce expression headed our way. "Are you stupid, Ben? Think you can get away with anything?" came a deep, sneering voice. Leo was right behind Ben, slamming him to the ground in one move. My mistake. Thought a call was enough. Didn't mean anything serious. Was just joking, right, Anna? I ignored him, dabbing at the blood on my hand with a tissue. My hearing aid had fallen out, but I had to keep up appearances. Leo's gaze shifted from my ear to my hand, and then came a slew of choice words. Ben kept pleading, and his buddies, who had gotten up, slowly laid back down. "Leo, I got it, please." Leo's tie was askew, and a cuff button was missing. It wasn't exactly his best look, but for some reason, I kind of found him more agreeable now. Untying Mickey, I was about to ask Leo to head home, but before I could, a drunkard picked up a bottle, and the next moment, Leo's forehead was bleeding. Their group, seeing the scene, ran out as fast as they could. Hands shaking, I pulled out a tissue to press against Leo's wound. He bent down instead, picked up my hearing aid, dusted it off, and leaned close to check. "Is it still working? Besides your hand, hurt anywhere else. It felt like this man had unknowingly touched the softest part of my heart. For the next few days, be careful with that wound. Keep it dry to avoid infection, the family doc advised before leaving. Try letting your wife wash your hair for now. Leo merely hummed, barely paying attention. But sitting beside him, I heard it all. So, when he tried entering the bathroom, I blocked him. I pointed to myself and then to the shampoo. I'm not handicapped. Don't need you to wash my hair, he chuckled, pushing me to head up for sleep. This time, I made sure my sign language matched the words. I'm your wife. To accommodate the injured patient, I opted for the guest room. Can't keep making Leo sleep on the floor, right? No idea why this guy, who could fight like a demon, got scared of storms. But at least it was sunny all month. I had barely stepped downstairs with my pillow when he followed. Seeing me without my hearing aid, Leo started grumbling senselessly. What's this, divorcing already? I haven't even touched the bed yet and you're leaving. Just said you were my wife, and now what? Pitying my banged up head. Anna, one more step down and that's it. We're done, divorced. Right now, back up and I'll forgive you. Pausing, I turned to look at him. Leo instantly went quiet. Hands gesturing, I asked, any more nonsense? You sick or what? Then he pressed his head, wincing in pain. Oh, imagine if I sleep alone and die in a dream. You realize you sound ridiculous, right? In the end, a borderline was drawn on the master bed. If things seemed off, Leo would prod me awake. I lay straight, turned away from him. His breathing was close enough to hear. I forced myself to sleep, and it worked. I slept until I woke naturally. The pillow mulled my neck. Looking down, I was about to pass out. How did I end up cuddling with Leo? Just as I was about to sneak away, Leo suddenly wrapped his arm around my waist, pulling me back. He mumbled, displeased, you kept me up all night, snuggling up to me. Now you seem all energetic. Stay and sleep a bit more. Oh no, I forgot how restless a sleeper I am. Spending so much time with this guy, I almost forgot who Leo really is. I was snapped back to reality when his assistant Larry mentioned they intercepted a shipment. Leo's face changed instantly. A few vague words made me wonder if it involved something illegal. Without a word, Leo rushed out. Even after nearly 3 months, I didn't really know him. The system told me his identity, but never mentioned his ties to the protagonists. What if he's a criminal? My heart sank. Mickey, the dog, dropped a tennis ball by my feet, wanting to play. I saw its sleek coat, well taken care of, and my doubts surfaced again. If he's really dangerous, how do I get out unscathed? Time ticked by, and I found myself by Leo's company. Police cars surrounded the entrance. My mind flashed back to every cop and robber movie I'd ever seen. What did Leo do? I was caught between fear and disappointment. My breathing felt heavy. What brings you here? Larry adjusted his glasses and asked, a bit confused. Then realizing, he repeated the question in sign language. What did Leo do? Why are the police here? I signed back in silence. Recently, our local police caught a gang suspected of kidnapping and child trafficking. The news on TV showed children locked up in a basement, the youngest not even 4 years old. The screen then showed a familiar face. A reporter, microphone in hand, asked, Mr. Leo, how did you know about Mark and their crimes? Intercepting them before their deal and successfully reporting them to the police. In the footage, Leo calmly responded, I know they'll never change. That day, the police weren't there to arrest Leo. They came to pick up the children Leo's team rescued. On that day, I learned about Leo's past. 18 years ago, 10-year-old Leo was kidnapped to a remote village. After 3 days of high fever, his captors thought he wouldn't survive the spring and planned to sell him to an underground fighting ring. Illegal fighting was big back then, with many investing heavily. Mark sold Leo to one of the bosses. To survive, you had to fight. Losing meant being locked in a leaking basement without food. Leo once casually told me, I was timid as a kid. Every time I was locked up, it rained and thundered, leaving me with a fear of storms. Normally, I'm not scared. In his original story, his past was glossed over, merely noting. The first half of Leo's life involved illegal fights, beating others to survive. He's tough, don't mess with him. Eventually, through hardship, Leo fought back against those who bullied him. A childless wealthy old man took notice of him. Though some feared he'd turn lawless, he chose a quiet life of business and did well. I finally understood why he obstructed the main characters. Leo was reading in the study. The moment I entered, he quickly set his book aside. I just made some treats. Try them, I offered, placing the dish down, pointing to my hearing aid, indicating I could hear. Unfazed, he grabbed one and took a bite. I started to smile but frowned when I noticed the scars hidden under his tattoos. Leo didn't know I learned about his past from Larry, or that I snuck into his workplace. After a while, I asked, Leo, let me see your back. He started to joke, but held back, seeing my hearing aid. His confusion was clear, but he didn't refuse. With the last button undone, a lifelike dragon tattoo appeared across his back. Beneath the tattoo were countless scars. I gently placed my hand on them. Leo trembled slightly but remained silent. The room was quiet until my tears fell onto his back. At that moment, I shared his pain. "Does it hurt?" I asked. Leo wiped my tears with his thumb, shaking his head. "It doesn't hurt anymore." "Are you really feeling sorry for me?" "Haven't heard anyone say that feeling sorry for a man brings bad luck." "Anna, don't cry." A soft kiss landed on me. "Now what do? I can't shut him out anymore. I saw a job ad at the deaf school nearby, but I haven't confessed to Leo about pretending to be deaf. At first, it was for self-protection. I didn't think he'd care. Now, seeing him awkwardly practicing sign language in secret, guilt gnawed at me. What if he's angry when I admit it? What if he kicks me out? Lately, I avoided looking directly at him out of shame. Strangely, Leo thought he somehow upset me. He held my hand, took Mickey, and suggested a walk. Instead, he took me shopping for a necklace. I tried refusing, but he already put it around my neck. 2 sales clerks eagerly pushed their sales pitch. A woman, dressed extravagantly, barged in. She glanced at my necklace, then handed her card to a clerk. "I'm buying what she's wearing." Leo looked bewildered. Before the clerk could speak, he asked sharply, "Are you blind? Can't you see it's already on her? I paid yesterday. It's not your turn to buy it." The woman hadn't noticed Leo crouching earlier. She was startled, adjusted her mink coat, and shot us a look. As she turned to leave, her eyes caught my hearing aid, scoffing. "A deaf person with such a nice necklace, what a waste." She walked away quickly. Leo let out a scoff, ready to argue, but I stopped him. "Let's go home." On our way back, he kept sneaking glances at me. Finally, pretending nothing was wrong, he leaned in and asked, "Ever heard this saying? What? If you care about others' opinions, you become their underwear. You end up catching all the crap they throw at you." Leo was talking, and he even made some silly gesture, like putting on a pair of shorts. "That guy earlier, don't let it get to you." His sign language wasn't great, but he managed a few decent words in his little speech. I couldn't help it. I laughed out loud. "That's not how you sign, crazy." Your gesture was more of a compliment. As I spoke, I demonstrated the correct sign to him. Leo just let his hands drop and watched me. "Anna, He stopped mid-sentence and suddenly took out my hearing aids. Then he leaned close and whispered in my ear, "I like you." Silly guy, thinking that would make me not hear him. Leo's face turned visibly red, and he didn't seem to notice that my ears were blushing too. Later that night, I snuggled up to Leo and quietly told him, "I kinda like you too. Actually, it's more than just a little bit." Larry had studied sign language properly and used to work part-time at a school for the deaf. So when he came to get Leo, I casually asked him about that school. After a week of asking all the questions I could, I planned to tell Leo that weekend that I could actually hear. But when Leo got back that evening, he was all prickly and started acting up, complaining of a headache and wanting me to massage it, or pretending he was hypoglycemic and wanted some snacks. "It's so late already, how can I make snacks now?" I could tell he was just picking a fight. "Humph, yeah right. Gave all the snacks to Larry, not a crumb left for me, huh?" Leo nestled his head against my neck, casually removing my hearing aids again. I knew he was going to start again. "Do you seriously feel nothing for me? Every time you come home, you never smile at me. You're happier seeing Mickey than you are seeing me. You're always chatting with Larry. Even though I've been seriously learning sign language, you still won't pay attention to me. Anna, I'm starting to dislike you. I don't want to like you anymore." I was stunned. I interrupted him, speaking in my normal voice. "Dislike me? Then go ahead. Start disliking me now." Leo looked at the hearing aids in his hand, then touched my ear, shocked. "What? You can hear now?" The guy jumped up from the couch and grabbed his phone, ready to call the hospital. But I stopped him. "Leo, actually, I've always been able to hear." He took a sharp breath, then cautiously asked, "Then all those things I said before, you heard them too?" I nodded again. That awkward eye contact was broken by a bark from Mickey. Leo turned away and went into the kitchen. A while later, a voice floated out from inside. "Did you hear what I said that other day too?" I didn't answer him. Instead, I asked, "Aren't you mad that I lied to you all this time?" "Mad about what?" "Mad that you're a perfectly healthy person." Leo, a big guy, was hiding in the kitchen and wouldn't come out, although he was acting all cocky earlier. I felt a bit helpless. "So, I heard clearly what you said that day. I answered you too." "When?" Leo poked his head out with his close-cropped hair, just begging to be petted. When you were asleep, I smiled and motioned for him to come over with my finger. Wanna hear me say it again? With a straight face and red ears, Leo leaned towards me, bowing his head. I took the opportunity to run my fingers through his hair. What, you taking me for Mickey? Hurry up and tell me. Though grumbling, his body obediently stayed put. I hooked his neck and whispered softly, I like you too. What? I didn't hear you. Too quiet. Leo teased, asking deliberately. I said, I also dislike you. I playfully hit his chest, louder this time. You didn't say that earlier. You didn't hear me earlier. How do you know I didn't say that? The evening was pleasantly cool. Mickey needed a walk in the park. In the sunset, 2 people and a dog. Anna, were you deaf for a while? You didn't show any signs of acting. I let out a long sigh and decided to tell him about my real family situation. Where I'm from. Who I really am. I'm not an orphan adopted by the system. I was abandoned and adopted by my dad. He told me on my 18th birthday. For as long as I can remember, my dad couldn't speak, only laughing with strange sounds. When he shouted, I knew it was time to eat. Hands forming a triangle meant it was time for school. Before I turned 18, neighbors would half-jokingly tell me, you know your dad picked you from a trash heap, right? Otherwise, why can you speak when your dad's deaf? How didn't you inherit your dad's traits? Every time I heard such things, I was furious, running home to angrily inform my dad about our wicked neighbors. But that man, whose eyes crinkled when he smiled, would pat my hand and tell me to enjoy my meal. My dad has been with me for most of my life, always present in my 20-some years. I know what he means with every gesture. When others misunderstand him, I translate. My father's world is silent. I am his only voice. When I grew up, he told me, you're independent now, with your own future. Never give up on things just for someone else's sake. I've always treated you as my child. Everything I did was out of love, wanting to be family, not a burden. That day, I was in tears. The most genuine love was there all along. Later, after graduating, I became a sign language interpreter. My dad was quite proud and learned to video call me. I sat on the park bench, telling Leo my story, but suddenly, I couldn't hold back. A sob broke the serene air. Leo, I miss my dad. I've been in this world for 6 months, and don't know how my dad's leg surgery has healed. Where this world's story is going, how far till the end. Will I see Leo again? Will Mickey forget me? I dare not think. I dare neither ponder nor imagine. When one reaches the peak of happiness, the rest can only feel empty. Who's the real lead in this tale? If they hurry up, you can return sooner. But, Leo believed every word I said. He knows that once the story ends, I'll leave too. The system reappeared at the very end of the year. Anna, you've completed your task successfully. Just 1 more week, and you can return. But I couldn't bring myself to smile. Life was rolling on as usual, except when Leo would wake up in the middle of the night and grab my hand tightly. That day, I came home from school. As soon as I walked in, a pair of big hands covered my eyes. Anna, I want to take you somewhere. Follow me. Leo opened the car door and helped me out. I lost track of how many steps we took, or how long we waited. When I opened my eyes again, I was alone. In front of me, in a mirror, I saw myself in a snow-white wedding dress. I'd never seen it before, but somehow it fit perfectly. In front of me, there was a door. I gently pushed it open, and petals started falling everywhere. It was like a dream garden. White roses bloomed beautifully despite the winter chill. I was standing on a red carpet, and Leo was right across from me. I laughed, surprised he went all out with this classic wedding setup. And there I was, the leading lady. Mickey, with a red tie, stood ready by my side. With a gesture from Leo, it rushed over. The rings in the box sparkled brightly. There was no officiant, no family, no guests. Just Leo, Mickey, and me. We exchanged vows, and amidst our laughter, we started crying. If I have to leave tomorrow, let's love each other today. Since you married me, we've never had a proper wedding. Today, I'm making it up to you. Anna, even if you go back, remember that I love you. Leo's eyes were reddened, yet he forced a smile. It looked more heartbreaking than tears. This was my last day in this world. I asked the system, what happens to Leo in this story? Can this non-villain be happy? The system responded, sorry, system failure. Unable to retrieve information. Does the story's ending marker? For those dominated by narratives, it does. Before leaving, I made a wish that seemed impossible. If it were possible, I'd want to meet Leo and Mickey again in the real world. If not, then let them forget me. A year in the book was just a day in reality. My dad called through a video chat. He looked lively despite his aged face. He assured me not to worry, his post-surgery recovery was going well. But he'd just had the surgery. How could he recover that fast? After hanging up, I went out for a walk, same as before. The sunset was unchanged. The system never showed up again. It came and left suddenly. Life seemed to return to normal, but only I knew. There was a ripple in the calm. Over time, I found myself wanting a dog like Mickey. About 2 months later, I walked into a pet shop. Inside was a dog that looked just like Mickey, except its left leg wasn't lame. I asked about the price. The owner said it was their own pet, not for sale. Seeing the owner, I froze. I stood there for a long time, until the bag I was holding broke, spilling potatoes on the ground. The owner hurried to help me pick them up, but I hugged his neck, sobbing uncontrollably. "Where have you been?" The man who looked a lot like Leo seemed bewildered. "Sorry, you've got the wrong person. Aren't you Leo?" He looked just like him. "I am, but I don't know you." My heart shattered. I noticed the scars on his arm were gone. They came into this world but had forgotten me. Maybe Leo's past here had changed too. No abduction, no pain, no hunger. Maybe his life here was plain but peaceful. My original wish was for them to be happy. So why wasn't I satisfied? I walked out of the pet store in a daze, and heavy rain started falling without warning. People are never content, always wanting more. I thought, what if I meet him again, even as strangers? But now, I couldn't accept this. I wish I hadn't been so greedy. "Hey, Miss Anna, wait up." That familiar voice made me turn around reflexively. Leo rushed over with an umbrella. "You remembered my name." Hope sparked again. "No, Miss Anna, your work ID fell out of your bag. And there's a potato too." "Here." Hope faded away. "It's raining too hard. Take the umbrella," he said, handing it to me. "You can return it tomorrow." I looked at Mickey wagging his tail by Leo's feet and smiled as I took it. "Well, see you tomorrow." Later, whenever I had time, I'd visit the pet shop. Once, I got tied up at school and was late that night, so I didn't go. But when I stepped out, there he was with Mickey, chatting with the security guard. I pretended not to see and walked past. "Anna," he called out to me. "What are you doing here?" "Oh, just happened to come here on a walk," he replied, sounding a little hesitant. "Oh, if you're done, you should head back. It's getting late." I had school stuff to handle, and my phone kept buzzing with texts. "Are you busy lately?" "What else?" I shook my head. "Nah, just busy with blind dates." One guy said he has a cat that does backflips. I thought that sounded interesting, so I might check it out. I was trying to provoke him. Leo seemed to take it seriously, thinking for a moment before saying, "My dog can do sit-ups, so maybe don't go." "Really, Mickey, since when?" "Eventually, I took him to meet my dad." No exaggeration, I dated Leo twice. Once, we got married first, then fell in love. The second time, we fell in love first, then married. Sometime after our marriage, Leo suddenly hugged me and cried. He remembered everything. Maybe his reaction time was long. Mickey had recognized me long ago, yet Leo remained confused. But it didn't mark her. Even if he forgot, I knew his heart still loved.